Welcome back to another episode of Nitty Gritty Sports Talk. I'm your host tonight, Keith PJ, and of course I'm joined with my brother Keys.
What's going on? How y'all feeling out there?
I have Nick with me.
What's up? What's up?
And of course we're joined tonight by a wonderful guest, Carita Parks, CEO of Double Take Sports. How you doing tonight, Carita?
Good. How are you?
Good. Glad to have you. So we'll jump right into the interview. Talk to us about growing up in Duval County and how it's influenced the person you are today.
Yeah, well, Duval is home.
Yeah.
So it's forever with me. I am always representing when I can. But growing up in Florida was awesome. Like I miss it in the sense of just year-round sun. I do like having seasons. That's great. That's the great part of being here. But I mean, Jacksonville, that's my foundation. That's where I got my start. I mean, I started in PR and sports in Florida. And without being there and doing like the internships that I did, because when I did internships, there was no guarantee you were getting paid. You just wanted to do it to get the experience. And I definitely encourage people to do that. But, I had a ton of opportunities to do internships and really build relationships that I still have to this day. And that even though I'm not there anymore, they've still helped me in my career, or that experience that I have had has helped me in my career. And without being in Duval, I would have never moved to DC, because I was at a communications agency, because as you noted, I have a PR background too. And that agency is actually what moved me here. And being in the DC area has just really been amazing for both my PR and my sports journalism career. So, without the opportunities I had there, I wouldn't have the opportunities that I have here.
You muted it.
I was about to say, I think you asked me a question, but I don't know what it is.
Thank you for that. I mean, you started covering the NFL in 2015. So talk to us about what drew you specifically to the NFL. What changes you observed from then until now when it comes to the NFL and public relations?
Yeah, so I've always been an NFL fan. I've been a sports fan in general. My mom, she used to watch sports, all sports. Tennis, basketball, football, everything. And I was also in track and field growing up, so I have a little bit of an athletic competitive background. But I was just more drawn to the NFL. I think that just more than anything, it was the most exciting sport for me, even though I enjoyed all the sports. So I just kind of gravitated towards that first. I feel like I also had a lot of exposure to more of the NFL side, because as I mentioned, when we were talking about being in Jacksonville, I did some work with the NFL there. So I would say a lot of my exposure started with the NFL, and then transitioning into journalism in 2015, it came from PR. I was working with a client who had their own independent media company, and she did a lot of NFL. And I eventually, once the PR side kind of fell off, I wanted to do the sports journalism side with her, and she trusted me just from the PR experience and knew that I was capable. So gave me that opportunity. And my first event that I covered, which is crazy, was like the NFL draft. Oh. It was in Chicago. So that kind of is where I got my start. And then after that, I just started tapping into other sports in the local market, and everything just started coming together, and it's still coming together, honestly. So it's been great. And then I think I forgot the other part of the question. You asked me about how I have seen PR in the NFL change. Yep. I think what I would say is I think that more PR is needed now.
Yeah.
Years have gone on, and especially with the addition of social media, I feel like social media wasn't always as prevalent as it is now. So you have more athletes talking on social media and saying things that they should probably keep to themselves. You have incidents, even on the NFL side, you have incidents that may occur, and there's more criticism that is out loud on social media. when it comes to the NFL. So anything really, like, social media has changed everything. I mean, like you saw, even with, I'm going to basketball, but John Morant and flashing the gun on social media. If there was no social media, we probably would have never saw that, right? So all of these incidents, and just the more exposure these athletes have and the more people can talk about things, there's a more of a need for PR. Then it's always been a need, but now it's even more prevalent.
Absolutely. So to build on that, how important is it in building relationships with the players and the coaches of the teams you cover?
It's huge, because relationships are everything. And I have observed just over the years how sometimes, not all reporters, but some reporters, you know, they're focused on what they need. And I get it. You have deadlines, you have stories, but they don't necessarily care about taking the time to observe an athlete, to build that relationship, to see if they even feel like talking to you that day. Because truth be told, I get my best content when I pay attention to whether or like what space they may be in, right? So building those relationships are important, and it makes you notice, because not everyone takes the time to do that. So if they notice that you're there building relationships with them and not just acting like they're not people, the better off you are, because the more they want to talk to you and the more they actually want to give you. And I mean, same with the coaches and the PR teams and just everyone there. Like, you want to build a reputation of being professional, someone that they can talk to, and it's just, you gain more respect that way.
Definitely. So in the competitive landscape of sports media, especially during high profile events, if you've been a part of the Super Bowl and the McDonald's All-American game, innovation's key. Can you share some insight on what went into developing the innovative strategies, when it came to those events?
Woo, it's not simple, but if I were to break it down, first of all, it starts with understanding the event or client, whatever it may be, getting a better understanding of who they are, what event you're covering, kind of also looking at past performance, like what's done well for them, what has not done well for them, and then also the audience that they draw, right? Because different audiences need different things. And you're going to be more successful when you know what your audience wants and what your audience needs. And, you know, more importantly, it does start there. You got to do that back. It starts with the research, honestly. Then you have to know who your audience is and what are the trends. Like, what are the trends? What trends can you hop on? Can you hop on some trends? If not, you know, what is your audience like? Where are they at? Are they on social media? Are they out at a park? You got to just kind of know that. And once you know that, you can build your strategy and determine what we call them tactics, but like what you're going to use to reach that audience. And that's really the basis for many strategies. You got to kind of start there. And the innovation comes just knowing what trends are happening at that time and what you can do to make that event or your client stand out because it's crowded. Like, what is their niche, you know?
Awesome stuff. It's definitely easy to see why you are where you are. And then to kind of build on some of what you were talking about, specifically with NIL and branding moving to the forefront of sports. How important is media to today's athlete?
It's super important. And I wish more athletes understood that. And I wish the people that work with these athletes understood that more, because especially with me being on both sides and being media in some cases, and then being on the PR side, I've noticed the younger these leagues get, the more I don't feel like they have the education or appreciation for media, and understanding that sometimes I feel like media can be seen as the enemy, because, you know, there are some reporters who are out there for the gotcha stories, you know. But when you meet media and when you meet reporters who can help you reach your goals, building back to building relationships. Building those relationships, it goes both ways. With media is so important because they can help you. Especially like when you're talking about NIL, they can help you get your story out there. They can help position you in a positive light. Now, they're not going to lie necessarily, but all I'm saying is if you build those relationships and retweet, like if a reporter writes a good story about you, retweet that, like it, repost it. I've seen so many times where I have witnessed an athlete, especially young athletes, have an interview and don't retweet it, don't repost it, don't even like it. It's like you're taking it for granted. And so I do think there needs to just be a lot more education, and it does start at that college level. It starts even before that, honestly, but if you can get them at the college level to understand how to leverage media. Like media can be your friend. It's not always your enemy.
Gotcha. So talk to us about Double Take Sports and what prompted you to create the online media platform.
Yeah, so just being, so for me, I came into sports in a very non-traditional way. I didn't necessarily go to school for journalism. I was going to go to school for journalism, but I decided to pursue PR, and then life kind of came full circle. But just being in this space and understanding that it's not easy for everyone to get opportunities, and I had opportunities. I've, covered several different events, several different sports. So I decided to start Double Take Sports for two reasons: as a platform to help others, particularly Black and Brown people, get into that space. And then also, second reason is kind of what we were talking about earlier about like media being your friends. I wanted to be a space that had more positive stories about, and we'll probably get into it a little bit more, but have more positive stories about athletes and just show like the different things they're doing, like the community events, or if they're into fashion, just being able to tell a different side of the story was really my purpose in starting that, and starting the platform. And I felt like I could do it. I told you that it was a independent company that gave me my start. So I wanted to kind of replicate that.
Yeah, I think you are doing it. I really enjoyed that Kevin Durant and Donovan Mitchell HBCU article on Double Take Sports. Well written, great content. So Double Take Sports takes pride in bringing you another side of the story. What's meant by that statement, and talk to us about why it's so important to do, especially in today's times.
Yeah. So I guess got ahead of the question, but I say that, and that is my tagline, because like I said, honestly, I want to be able to show a different side of athletes, but not just that. Sometimes you see, if I can try to think of something off the top of my head that I've written before. Well, anyway, sometimes like you'll see a story that's written by like an ESPN or something like that. But I feel like because I kind of have a different perspective on a lot of things, I'm able to bring something different to the table. So it's not always just showing another side of an athlete. It's sometimes showing a different side of a story that's already out there. Even with my PR, sometimes I bring my PR perspective into it. We were talking about John Morant earlier. Like I wrote a story about that more from a PR side or PR lens. So I try to just bring something different to the table, but that also goes back to what I was saying about finding your niche and what makes you different. And I feel like being able to flip the script a little bit is what makes me different. Like you said about the Kevin Durant and Donovan Mitchell story. I mean, there were a ton of questions for Donovan Mitchell and Kevin Durant at All-Star, but nobody asked him about the HBCU class.
Nope. Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm trying to bring to the table.
Love it.
All right, Miss Carita. So you talked about all the highlights, right? You kind of make everything seem easy and look easy. So I want you to get down to the nitty gritty and let us inform us about the challenges you face as a journalist and also as an independent media company covering professional sports. Like, how do you navigate them? How do you look out for those and mitigate?
It's funny because I probably do make it look easy, but it's not easy, especially being independent, because The fact of the matter is, most of the in the sports industry, a larger outlet is just automatically valued and automatically trusted. And I'm going to give you an example. And I should also say they're automatically trusted and automatically valued, but that does not make the people that work for them quality reporters, right?
Definitely.
You know, when I was at an event recently, someone asked the craziest question on the mic, and the athlete was like, "Who gave this guy a mic?" Right? And I'm pretty sure
whose man is this?
For a well-known outlet, right? So it's tough navigating that, because even though what I learned with having an independent company is, even though I had so much experience with other brands covering some of the biggest events across all leagues, it didn't matter when it came to my company. It did not matter. Wow. I had to work hard to gain that trust, and just bit by bit, I just had to keep going. And sometimes walls started to come down, but even with the progress that I've made, I've gotten denials before for credentials, and I'm following up, and I'm like, well, why? Because I cover this team, so I should be there because that team is there. And then suddenly, maybe they'll be like, okay, yeah, you can go. But I had to follow up. So it's kind of like, you, as an independent company, it feels like you're always trying to prove yourself, always having to fight your way in. But you just have to be very driven when it comes to having an independent media company. You have to be driven, and you have to be smart, because you may be able to align yourself with other brands. I think it's very important to me to just never lose sight of Double Take Sports, even if I do partner with another brand to further myself and my opportunities. So you just got to be really focused, really driven, and very strategic. And sometimes it's exhausting.
I believe it.
Understandable. So in your first season covering the Ravens this past year, they made the AFC Championship game. Talk to us about that experience for you, and how did that look for you?
That was, first of all, unexpected, right? So prior to covering the Ravens, I covered the Commanders for 4 seasons. And I always knew, but listen, I'm on this side now.
You got to see some winning for once.
I'm on this side now. So I always knew, like, the Ravens were a very professional organization. They've always been for a while, the better team. So I already knew that, right, going in, but did not anticipate or expect them to have. I know they made some great signings, but I've been in this league. I've been in this game a minute, and I know sometimes things look better on paper than on the field. So I just didn't anticipate them having such a successful season, making it all the way to the AFC Championship game, and also that game being at home. So for me, it was just another experience in my career, and I was very excited about it. I would have been excited either way because I love what I do, but it was just rewarding to be able to experience that, especially in my first season. Now, if they would have went to the Super Bowl, but that's a story for another time. But no, it was great. It was great. And just even all the people that I had an opportunity to talk to and get to know throughout the season.
Yeah, that's still a sore spot for us, Carita.
I know, that's why I moved on quickly.
But what are your thoughts on the Ravens offseason so far? We've signed Derrick Henry. We've lost a few key parts to some rivals. How do you see the rest of this offseason looking for the Ravens, especially with the draft approaching?
Yeah, so Ravens were not like super splashy in free agency, but just the signing of Derrick Henry in itself was, I think, a major signing, because just having him in the backfield is going to change the dynamic of this offense, and is going to help the wide receivers as well, and Lamar. So, because Derrick Henry is just a different kind of running back. So like y'all mentioned, I'm from Duval. So Jaguars played the Titans all the time. And Derrick Henry was a problem on so many levels every time. So I've seen how he can just completely drive an offense. So I think it's going to be great for Lamar. I think it'll be great for the offense. They also re-signed Justin Madubuike, which I think is major. So I feel like they took care of the important pieces that they could right now. I feel like in the draft, offensive line has got to be.
Oh, yeah.
I went to the combine and Eric DeCosta said they were going to rebuild the O-line, and Coach Harbaugh agreed with that. But now that I saw the moves that they made in free agency and who they actually did lose, it's like, yeah, O-line has to be a priority in the draft. And I definitely think that that's what they're going to work on next. And then I think whatever pieces they don't bring in the draft, if there's still some free agents that they can sign, I think they'll do that. Because, last season they signed free agents late too.
Yep.
So I think if there's any other major gaps that they think they need to fill after the draft, we'll see that happen too.
Yeah, for sure. Because, with the Ravens, roster building is it's an all season thing. We take it to September a lot of times. But final question before we get you up out of here: who or what has been your favorite athlete interaction or interview to date?
That is so tough because I feel like I have been fortunate enough to talk to so many people. I don't know if I would say it's my favorite, but I actually value the interviews I've had with some of the athletes that are deemed like controversial or just always talked about. Like having the opportunity to cover Odell Beckham Jr. was great. I mean, he was great with the media, and I constantly talked to him, and I was like, why does he get such a bad rap? And then like on the NBA side, John Wall, it was the same way. Love talking to John Wall. Love my interviews with John Wall. So I feel like some of the more controversial players have actually been some of my favorite people to talk to. And they've also done me well on social media. My John Wall stuff used to go crazy, and same with Odell. So, but I've talked to some. Like what stands out to me too is talking to Richard Sherman. He was good, just his answers, his responses. There's been a lot of good people. Who else did I interview? Why am I going blank? Jamel Hill. Like that was a really good interview. Natasha Cloud is great. I mean, some of these
names
people are like really good, and definitely don't have the same image in person that they may have like in the media.
Yeah, that's the one thing I love about the interviews we do. We always learn something different and new about the individual that the general public normally doesn't know.
Right.
What about March Madness? Any stock in that?
No, that's funny. Somebody asked me that today too. Not as much, not going to lie. I feel like I got my hands full with NBA, NFL, WNBA.
Playoffs right around the corner.
I just try to enjoy the college games, but they're always super exciting. I am very excited on the women's side to see what South Carolina does and just how that all plays out. There's a lot of competition over there, so it'll be fun. I'm just going to enjoy it.
Well, we'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to hop on this interview with us. We really appreciate it.
Definitely. Thank you.
Much continued success too. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Great questions. I got to touch on everything. So
could you let the people know where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on all platforms at Carita Parks. That's where everything I do is on there. Also, be sure to follow at DBL Take Sports. So that's Double Take Sports, my sports media company. You can find that on all platforms. Visit the website, dbltakesports.com. I also write for Sports Illustrated Inside the Wizards, so check that out as well. But if you follow me at Carita Parks, you'll see everything.
Appreciate that, Carita. What do the Wizards need to do? real quick before you get out of here?
Everything. Everything. Oh my gosh. And then just before our interview, Bilal Coulibaly, the bright spot, one of the brightest spots of the season, he's out for the rest of the year. So.
Oh man.
Oh no.
I'm like, yeah, they just need to start over.
Yeah. They said NC State won more games there this past weekend than the Wizards won all year.
That's ridiculous.
This has been the roughest. The Wizards have had some rough seasons, but this has been the roughest season. I feel like at least there was some entertainment somewhere here and there, but this has been a very rough season.
Definitely. Well, we appreciate you, Miss Carita Parks. Thanks again for jumping on the show with us.
Welcome.
Have a good one.
You too. See y'all later.
Take care.
I appreciate you.
See you later.